Hello, my name is Roger Perry from the Bevington Group, and today I'll be talking to you about 7 principles for restructuring. The idea for this comes from the thought that most managers will not have been able to glean enormous professional experience from restructuring. It's something that we have certainly all been subject to, however not built or had the time or opportunity to build a great deal of experience and skill in managing restructures. This is where a specialist group such as the Bevington Group, which involves itself in process re-engineering and restructuring, can help enormously in terms of guidance and principles. So we thought it would be useful to give you 7 principles on which we proceed with many of our restructures. We will be examining the alignment of structure to strategy. We will be examining the reduction of complexity, the transformation of waste to core activity, the creation of feasible roles, the balancing of supervisory work and own work in management and leadership roles, the ability to implement with clarity, and the requirement to maintain operational flexibility both during and after the restructure. So, what are very simple of examples of how structure should align with strategy? Let's consider a couple of large global organizations. Let's think first about an organization like Nintendo. We all know Nintendo. They make great game kit. If you have children, you're often pestered to buy a Nintendo game or device. They are products which are homogeneous across global boundaries. Small changes in packaging, presentation, and marketing apply only. Otherwise, it's pretty much the same product. The product itself is based on the same principles, marketing, and guidelines in most nations, with some adjustment for legal and cultural requirements in terms of game content, but otherwise homogeneous. In such circumstances, it doesn't make sense to disaggregate product development into many different regions. It doesn't make sense to disaggregate marketing strategy development into multiple different regions. So as a structural perception, Nintendo will be tending to centralize those activities into a handful of locations. Okay, let's think of a different example. Let's think of a global bank. Now, there are a number of global banks, so HSBC, for example. These global banks have to operate in a different environment to Nintendo. At a very high level, they offer the same products. However, they operate in markets that have different cultures and that even have different rules and regulations. Given that their mission is, in many cases, to achieve a 1 to 5 position in the marketplace, what they must do is be able to adapt to those individual marketplaces. That implies a distributed product development and marketing capability. It's not that these people in those teams cannot learn from global capabilities. In fact, they usually do, but you cannot avoid having a local capability in product development, product management, and marketing in situations where your mission is global and your means of competition, your means of achieving it, involves variation to local conditions as opposed to standardization. Now, it's not just global organizations where these examples apply to, of course. It's also local organizations. It can apply to whether you have a single call center in Australia or New Zealand or Asia, or whether you have multiple call centers. It relates to the way you manage your sales forces. It relates to the way you manage your manufacturing. It relates to a number of different items. If you see yourselves as manufacturing organizations, for example, that will be very different mission statement to a product development organization. The mission statement itself can help define how you will compete and therefore how your organizational structure will appear. Okay, seems simple. It should be said, however, that this sort of strategy to structure thinking mostly helps at the top level, not down so much in the lower ranks of an organizational structure. There will be other considerations we'll come to. There are also several activities that get in the way of basing structure and strategy. Perhaps the one most commonly seen is building a structure around the people that you've got, as opposed to going to strategic first principles initially. Another one that we commonly see is simply not being clear about mission and means of execution. Lack of clarity on the strategic side inevitably leads to lack of clarity in an organizational structure. And as we'll see, it can lead to significant complexity.